The chair recognizes the senator from Eastern Fairfax.
Thank you, Madam President. Speaking to the motion.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This amendment, I think the others are not focused on drug interdiction or human trafficking. And I would submit that if ICE had not doubled their force to 22,000 people over the last year and turned into the president's, personal enforcement agency, going into people's homes without warrants, doing just mass arrests, doing racial profiling, I don't think you'd be seeing these types of amendments. But the reality is that ICE has been totally and completely out of control, unbound by any kind of law or constitutional restrictions whatsoever. And they need to stay in their lane. And I'm sure the DEA and the FBI are perfectly good at enforcing our drug laws or dealing with human trafficking or looking at money laundering or crime. It would strike me that those kinds of things are outside of ICE's lane. And the last thing that I think ICE needs to be able to do their job right now, which is immigration enforcement, is doing mobile phone surveillance, using drones, using surveillance technology, using facial recognition and all kinds of other things to basically go way beyond what President Trump said he was going to do. Remember when he ran for office, he said he was going to focus on going after violent criminals. And it turns out that the vast bulk of people they've been going after don't have any kind of violent crime history or violent crime convictions or violent crimes pending. It's people that are just out living their lives and doing their jobs. And they're using these kinds of technologies to track people down and round them up. And that's not what people voted for. And that's why you've seen approval for ICE go underwater in the last 6 months, is because of these federal abuses. And so if any Virginia law enforcement agencies want to partner with ICE, then ICE needs to live by Virginia rules. And that's what these amendments say. And I think most Virginians would agree with that. They don't want some extra legal, constitutionally, legally unbound organization running around, running into their home, or tracking people down without following the Constitution of the law. And I would hope we would support the amendment. Madam President, speaking of the amendment.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. There's nothing unconstitutional or illegal or wrong about the bill. What it basically says is that if any constitutional officer or local government wants to enter into a 287G agreement, they can only do so if ICE will agree to do certain things in return. So it restricts Virginia law enforcement. And just for the record, Madam President, I want to note that WRC just reported recently that of all the 6,600 people that were arrested by ICE in Virginia, 74% had no criminal conviction. And only 25% had ever been convicted of any kind of crime. ICE has been picking up people in Virginia well in excess of what was promised, and these amendments are needed if they're going to operate in Virginia to rein them in. Thank you, Madam President. Speaking of the motion.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to thank the senator from Hampton for introducing this amendment and reminding everybody of the work that we did in 2020 to codify best practices for law enforcement. I want to make sure that everybody understands, if they choose to vote against this, what they're voting against. In 2020, we put in Virginia law that law enforcement is prohibited from using neck restraints. If you think it's okay for ICE to do a chokehold that's illegal under Virginia law, then you can vote against this. We also prohibited by statute, with the support of Virginia law enforcement, that it is illegal in Virginia to shoot a gun into a moving motor vehicle, even if it has a poet in it. That is illegal under Virginia law. That's law enforcement best practice. And that's what this statute says. We also codified use of force rules about when you can use deadly force, the circumstances upon which you have to give a warning before you use deadly force. At the time, we didn't think to say you can pull a gun off somebody and then shoot them, but nobody ever thought that would ever happen. But we do have in code the circumstances under which an officer can use deadly force. If you don't think that ICE officers should be restricted the way Virginia law enforcement officers are when they use deadly force. You can vote against this amendment. Given the things that we've seen going on in Minnesota and around the country, there are 32 ICE custodial deaths this year, the highest we've ever seen in America. If you think those kinds of things are okay, go ahead and vote against this. Madam President, I would hope we could all agree that if we're going to work with ICE, if anybody wants to work with ICE, that ICE will agree to follow Virginia laws when it comes to how police are to interact with their citizens and when they want to use force.